Disney was mad and literally putting everything in Deadpool and Wolverine last year. They weren't just hoping for its success, they needed it desperately. With their recent movies flopping harder than a fish out of water, Disney saw this as their last shot to get audiences back on board. And yeah, bringing in Ryan Reynolds and director Shawn Levy looked like a safe bet. After all, Deadpool and Wolverine are in the same movie. That's the kind of thing that prints money. But a crazy thing that only a few of you might know is that the movie didn't just succeed because of Deadpool cracking jokes and Wolverine slashing through enemies. No. People loved it because it wasn't another Disney-approved, focus group-tested, agenda-riddled disaster. Audiences were sick and tired of the studio shoving its DEI checklist down their throats instead of focusing on what actually matters. A great story and beloved characters done right. As Mike Ryan on Twitter wrote, "So much fun, and a love letter. Hate that term, but that's what it is, to the Fox era of Marvel movies." And the amazing secret for you to know is, Reynolds and Levy knew this. They straight up told Disney to back the hell off and just let them make a fun movie. And guess what? It worked. Fans saw through the nonsense and embraced a film that actually respected its characters instead of treating them like pawns in some corporate activism campaign. A fan wrote on X, "A true love letter to the 20th Century Fox era of Marvel, and such a weird, bloody, surprising delight. Thanks, Marvel Jesus."
Is played by the great Henry Cavill. Another
The
big moment.
By the way, it bummed me out at the premiere because no one even heard that line because they were cheering so loud when they see him turn
I didn't
around.
hear it. I'll be
But
frank, I did not hear it.
if you look at the end credits, the cavalry.
Yeah, remember the name, Henry Cavill. This dude is the ultimate professional, but even he had zero patience for Disney's nonsense. See, Cavill was supposed to have some absolutely insane scenes in Deadpool and Wolverine. We're talking brutal fights, wild action, the kind of moments that would have blown fans' minds. And what did Disney do? They cut them out. Not just from the theatrical release, but from the Blu-ray too. They basically took those scenes, chucked them in the trash, and expected fans to just accept it. What kind of brain-dead decision-making is that? You finally get Henry Cavill in a Marvel-related project, and you delete his scenes? That's like winning the lottery and burning the ticket. Naturally, Cavill was pissed, and he had every right to be. The guy pours his heart into these roles, and Disney treats him like an afterthought. Just picture that one of the biggest names in Hollywood, a fan favorite, and they decide, nah, let's just pretend that never happened. It's beyond disrespectful, not just to Cavill but to the fans who wanted to see him. And of course, Ryan Reynolds was in the middle of all this chaos, fighting Disney executives left and right just to make sure the movie wasn't another formulaic corporate cash grab. The guy had to battle against the same people who've been running the MCU into the ground. You just know those meetings were a war zone. Reynolds on one side, Disney execs clutching their clipboards on the other, trying to suck the fun out of everything. And let's not forget, this whole Cavalrine idea, that was all Ryan Reynolds. He came up with it, named it, and made it happen fast. We're talking 15 minutes from idea to confirmation. That's how you do things when you actually care about the product instead of dragging your feet in endless boardroom meetings. And yet, despite all that effort, Disney still managed to screw it up by cutting the scenes entirely. This is the same company that's been sabotaging its own projects for years. They cry about superhero fatigue while simultaneously putting out garbage that disrespects its own audience. Then, when something actually good comes along, like Henry Cavill in Deadpool and Wolverine, they pull the plug on it like a bunch of clueless suits who don't understand why their empire is crumbling. Cavill deserved better. The fans deserved better. But as usual, Disney couldn't help themselves. They had to step in and ruin something that could have been legendary. And that, right there, is why their downfall is well-deserved. As Rob Liefeld commented on Disney, it was meant to embarrass, diminish, defeat me.
I can't think of a more impossible and frustrating role to recast than something like Wolverine. Like, I don't know if I had to cast someone as as Wolverine and the guy who's made it canon in every way, shape, and form on screen.
Henry Cavill had a deal, a clear contractual agreement that said his extra fight scenes were part of the package. And these weren't just throwaway clips, these were the kind of moments that would have been legendary. The kind of action sequences fans would rewatch forever. But what did Disney do? They scraped them. didn't put them in the movie, didn't even bother including them in the Blu-ray release. That's like promising someone a 5-star meal and serving them a cold, half-eaten burger instead. Cavill wasn't about to let that slide. This guy isn't just some actor who shrugs off Hollywood's usual nonsense. He fights for what's right. And when Disney tried to shortchange him, he started considering legal action. And rightfully so. A contract is a contract. You don't get to rewrite the rules just because you feel like it. Cavill knows it, the fans know it, and guess what? He's not alone in this fight. And Deadpool has already said, "I gotta be honest, I've always wanted to ride with you, Log." Ryan Reynolds, Shawn Levy, and Hugh Jackman, yeah. Wolverine himself is backing Cavill up, and they're not just offering quiet support, they're ready to go to war over this. Rumors are swirling that they've put their own ultimatum on the table. Either Disney reinstates those scenes, or they start reconsidering their future with Marvel. That's a massive deal. We're talking about some of the biggest names in Hollywood standing their ground against the most powerful entertainment corporation in the world. And if Disney loses them, they're in deep, deep trouble. So what's Disney's excuse for cutting Cavill's scenes? Cost cutting. Yeah, really. According to them, keeping those fight sequences would have been too expensive. That's their brilliant justification. A studio that's raking in billions at the box office suddenly needs to pinch pennies by axing one of the most anticipated moments in the film? Ryan Reynolds and Shawn Levy immediately called out this absurdity, and they were absolutely right to do so. It's like buying a Ferrari and refusing to put gas in it because you're trying to save a few bucks. Make it make sense. Now we all know what the reality is. This isn't about money. This is just another classic example of Disney's incompetence. And it's not even the first time Cavill has been screwed over by Hollywood studios. Remember what happened with Netflix? The guy walked away from The Witcher because they butchered the source material. And before that, there was the absolute disaster that was WB's treatment of Superman. It's like every major studio is allergic to treating Henry Cavill with the respect he deserves. As a fan wrote on Twitter, Henry Cavill casually being the only other person to also play Wolverine in live action in the last 24 years. Right? And Deadpool was correct. It does just feel so right. And that's where the main point pops up. Cavill isn't just some actor cashing a paycheck. He cares. Whether it's Geralt, Superman, or Wolverine, he puts his soul into these roles. He respects the fans, honors the lore, and actually gives a damn about doing these characters justice. That's rare in Hollywood. Most actors just show up, read their lines, and collect their millions. But Cavill, he's one of us. A guy who actually understands why these characters matter. And that's exactly why he keeps getting shafted by these clueless studio executives. They hate anyone who challenges their nonsense. And Henry is not about them, but all about his fans. Now, the big question. What happens next? Disney's facing an absolute nightmare scenario. They've got Reynolds, Levy, and Jackman, who are literally some of their biggest moneymakers, were furious at them. They've got Cavill, a global icon, ready to take legal action. And worst of all, they've got fans who are completely done with their garbage. If they don't fix this, they're looking at a massive fallout. And considering how their recent movies have been performing, spoiler alert, terribly, they cannot afford to keep alienating their audience. This is a game of chicken now. Will Disney cave and try to patch things up? Or will they dig in their heels and keep sabotaging themselves like the clueless morons they've proven to be time and time again? One thing's for sure. If they don't get their act together, it won't be long before they've got nobody left willing to work with them. And at that point, good luck trying to survive in an industry that's already turning against them. Share what you think about Henry and Disney's mismatch in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing videos on woke Hollywood and superstars like Henry himself. See you in the next video.